Thank you for staying with the Monday Report. The conversation still continues. A lot is coming through online. But before we get into that, Waziri, thanks for staying with us here. We are talking about big things like installing speed cameras and vehicle telematics. Here's a country that we can't simply deal with border operators wearing helmets. In fact, in a traffic light, they don't wait. And you just mentioned yourself here that they form part of the biggest accidents. Is there a plan to deal with the border sector specifically before we even get into the big things like telematics?
Yeah, the indiscipline in the border sector. Remember, first of all, we have 2.5 million borders in the country. The ones that are active are about 1.8 to 1.9 million. So this is a huge sector, very important sector. Remember that when we campaigned as Kenya Kwanza administration, one of the things we said is that we are going to support the economies of our people from the bottom up and to strengthen them. So borders play a very critical role. One of the things that we've decided to do in our strategic plan is to establish the county transport safety committees, which I gazetted 38 of those committees across the country. Borders are literally a transport mechanism for the last mile. So the regulation and monitoring should be a county function. Ordinarily, we will set the standards at the national level, but the implementation of this standard is at county level. To start with, we should not be seeing border riders carrying people on highways. That should not be the case. The problem, even especially with this Nairobi, is part of the few elements in the border sector that cause insecurity operate from one side of the city to the other. So somebody is in Mathare and is found somewhere in Kibera and pretending to be carrying passengers and so forth, but sometimes they're involved in criminal activities. So what we've said is that for proper management of the border sector, this function should be fully devolved. And devolved in the sense that let the county government set the areas of operation, the mechanism for operation, and monitor these border riders. For us at the national level, we will provide the standards. That means already provided in law that you must wear a helmet. It can only carry one person. How will you enforce this? In the city of Nairobi, for example, we will try our best to use the ITS system. Again, the cameras. We have tested. I wish one of these days to invite you to Kenya Urban Roads Authority offices in town there, where we have the control room, where a few of the test cameras across the city are being monitored. So our engineers are trying to find out whether wearing an helmet can be one of the offenses and carrying more than 2 passengers can be one of the offenses. Countries who have had a strict law, again, I was here last time and I mentioned one of the neighbors, and I can mention them again in good light, is that Rwanda succeeded in making sure that a border rider can only carry 2 people and can only, and both of them must have a helmet. Now, I told you earlier in our off the air discussion that one of the mechanisms we want to deal with is to integrate the insurance that every person has with the offenses. So that then what we will do is that if you are if you are involved in an accident, the value of your insurance fee goes up, the premium goes up, and it continues to go up. And you know this is integrated. You integrate KRA, you integrate with the insurance cover, and also with the NTSA and the violation. So that if you are fined instantly, or you are involved in an accident and you have been charged and found guilty, then your insurance cover goes up until a stage where you will be banned from driving. That way, we hope that can be implemented when it comes to the border, make the insurance cover more difficult. One of the things, and we must confess this, is that for political reasons, because of the sheer numbers of border riders and the work they do, most of the counties and national government, politically, it's not been easy politically to make political decisions in terms of enforcement. And you are having a population of 1.8 million active or 1.9 million active borders. Even if you arrest all of them, there are not enough cells to this and all that. So that's why if you reduce it to a county level, it will be easy from the county security committee with the county traffic officers assisting the county government to establish mechanism of enforcing this. We will have to, this is an ongoing conversation, but on the border side, I must confess to you that it will not be the easiest one for us to sort it. Yet, it contributes 38% of the accidents.
So basically, there's still no plan for that one. It's a
as I said, the plan. I have explained to you the plan.
Yes.
For it to work,
the implementation
we will have to be a bit more ruthless for us to be able to do it, and we have to put our. You see, what has happened, Trevor, in this country, when one accident happens, like the one that happened with Kenyatta University students, or involving children, or like the one that happened in Londiani. When such an accident happens, there is usually a short public outrage.
Yeah.
And Kenyans cannot sustain that outrage because it is the passengers who are also contributing to this madness.
Okay.
And let me say this. I feel very sad that a family, an entire family, boats are border. The father, the wife, and 4 children. And then people are busy. You've seen those pictures. Everybody is busy saying, where is the minister? You are fast endangering your life. So one of the things that we've done in the strategic plan is to see how best can we enhance public participation, public education. I saw some priests the other day asking about a road accident and what the minister can do.
In fact, they wanted
before I didn't hear the resigning part, but I think it was a general whatever. I didn't see the resigning part. But I saw them saying that, what is the minister doing about road accidents? And when I was meeting some of the church leaders and asked them, what can we do every Sunday to educate Kenyans to become law-abiding citizens? Because when you are boarding a border with your entire family, you are endangering your family. When the citizen is boarding a border and they don't have a helmet, you are endangering your life. When we are boarding a vehicle that is already full, you are the one who is overloading. You know, you have found 14 people sitting in a 14-seater matatu, and you are insisting to sit there. Before even we charge the driver, and I've said, under the law, you are supposed to be charged.
Okay.
So there is a side of citizen consciousness and citizen outrage. I wish the Kenyan people, the way they are quick, and a few of them are quick to point fingers on government and government officials. I wish that amount of outrage would be directed on the drunk drivers, speeding drivers, overlapping drivers, and overloading passengers.
But isn't there some design flaws also, Waziri? Because many people are saying, in fact, Njoroge is telling me that, talk about Waiyaki Way. There are no service lanes, no pedestrian crossing, no bus stops. The road was upgraded into a 6-lane 3 years ago. But it's unfinished. There are no markings. The pedestrians and everyone is on the same, cyclists, motorbikes, everything. Aren't there design flaws as well? And what is the plan to do?
Although the Waiyaki one, the Waiyaki Way is in Njoroge. Yes. The Waiyaki Way Njoroge is speaking about is not a design flaw. It's incomplete road. I know that many Kenyans know that across the country, we have about 4,000 kilometers of roads marked for completion. One of them is Waiyaki Way, which has never been completed up to now because we have about 165 billion pending bills that are yet to be paid to these contractors. What is the plan? The plan is to make sure that we complete these roads. How do we complete it? Is to make sure that we, as much as possible, sort out our economic problems and our debt issues so that Parliament can have the space to allocate enough money for completing these roads. And I must say this, I must confess it. Many of our roads are unmarked, okay? At the moment, that were developed in the last 10 years. Many of those roads are incomplete, like Waiyaki Way. If you see the bridge in Kangemi, it's not complete. If you look at Gitaru Junction, which has been a serious issue for safety, is also incomplete. Why? Because we committed ourselves for the last 7-8 years to do roads that we contracted across the country, and we did not have enough money to complete it, because then we found ourselves in a debt trap, and then the budget was not there. Let me tell you, for example, last year we knew we needed 150 billion to complete these roads. How much were we given in the budget? 76 billion. How much was it done in the rationalization of the budget? It came to 46 billion. So if we continue at this rate, it will take us 17 to 19 years to complete the roads that are stalled up to now. So the president, you must appreciate the circumstances under which we are operating. His Excellency the President has done exceptionally well to deal with the question of Eurobond, because if he didn't deal with that, we would even be in a worse situation. Now we are at a stage where we are asking ourselves, working with our development partners, multilateral agencies, and our own budget, what can we do in the next financial year? Our target is to see If we can manage to push to get about 100 billion, then we can move our contractors closer to finishing the pending bills. Okay. Again, we want to appreciate our other development partners like China, where they have partially come in to sort these pending bills midway. But as we move together with the multilateral agencies, I agree and admit to the people of Kenya that those roads are not design flaws. Okay. They are actually incomplete roads as a result of pending bills.
Just 2 weeks ago, we saw the expressway flooding. Is that a design flaw, or what happened there?
I think the expressways were flooded because I asked why it flooded. Is because their drainage were blocked by waste that they were unable to clean in good time. But I want to say this because the expressway is managed privately by a private company. And by the way, in a very short time, they sorted that problem, which I appreciated. And they also admitted that they may need to provide more drainage systems on the expressway. But you know what's the good news? Do you know what is the good news? Last year, this time, in the lower road, the A1, the lower part of the road, the one that is public and used by everybody, there was no flooding. What does that tell you is that we sorted the drainage system. Okay. Both Kenya, but also you must give credit to the governor of Nairobi because the work he was doing to also sort drainage programs, unclog the drainage system. And you know, Kenyans, they only talk about what went wrong. Okay. They should be thanking us that we have put a lot of effort to make sure that we sort the road. And maybe I use that opportunity to tell Kenyans that they just need to be a little bit patient. Okay. We are sorting the tunnel near University of Nairobi where the students will be using. I will be visiting there soon to see the progress, and also you will see eventually the contractors who are working on the road A1 are going to complete it, but the drainage is good enough for
Fred
us.
Obachi Machoka says, why spend millions on technology when simple things like stalled trucks block highways for up to 3 days unnoticed, causing fatal accidents every day?
With technology, you will never see those trucks anymore. So Fred may... actually, for the comfort of Fred and many other Kenyans, the technology is not. We are not going to use any money. We are going to use private sector to install the cameras, and then we will collect billions of money. To the contrary, it is the other way around. We are going to raise more money than the one that is going to be spent. And that money will be plowed back to road designs, road construction, and also will be used to enhance road safety campaigns. So to the contrary, this measure is not just only, we are going to be taxing and punishing bad behavior of errand drivers who are overspeeding, overlapping, and misbehaving in the road. Tax them by virtue of using those technology, that camera, and make sure that we use that money again to plow it back to make our roads better and to make the safety campaign even better. But also for the comfort of those who know that we have had a challenge of stalled vehicles like the one that was in Gata, I have instructed Kenya to use the existing performance-based contracts that are in place to procure the contractors to monitor the sections of the highways where they are monitoring. If they find a stalled vehicle that has been in one position for more than 30 minutes, it's going to be towed by Kenya contractors at the cost of the owner of the vehicle. So it will be towed to a safe place, and then you will come and pay for the cost of what we are going to use. That framework is being worked out by Kenya now, and anytime in the near future, you will be seeing contractors whose responsibility will be to clear stalled vehicles on the road so that we don't have the situation we have. We should never have a situation where a stalled vehicle is on the road at night. That is a directive I have given.
Richard Kanoru, CEO, Matatu Owners Association, says good that the CS has confirmed many roads are unmarked. On Mombasa Road, the stretch between GM to DTB headquarters has huge potholes which are a danger to motorists. 2, the speed limiters and telematics can't be a solution to road carnage. Can we try a commercial and PSV driving school for drivers in Kenya?
He has mixed many things. He has mixed many things. But let me break them down like this. One, the Mombasa Road construction, as I told you, is ongoing. And we had to start with the drainage because that was the biggest problem we had. And the contractors are moving on to sort out the rest of the layer. The contract period was 3 years. 1 year, almost 1 year has lapsed, and both contractors have been focusing on the drainage system. And they have laid AC on part of the service where it was too bad. And I can assure him that the progress is going on.
Okay.
Number two is that you cannot question technology. In fact, the reason why we have speeding vehicles on the roads and both the trucks and the buses and the matatus is because they tamper with the speed governors. Now, vehicular telematics will make it impossible for them to tamper with the speed governors without us catching them.
Okay.
You know why I gave a directive that within 30 days they must all of them comply with the speed governor is because we have enhanced the capacity of NTSA to be able to monitor now the performance of the speed governors. But eventually, we want to move it now to the stage where it is vehicular telematics. We are able to monitor all these processes. And by the way, Trevor, this is not a new thing. Have you realized that some of the most reputable companies in the country who are using who are transporters, especially of trucks, they're using vehicular telematics. And I visited one of the companies this week, and I learned a lot. First is that they're able to monitor where their vehicles are. So drivers are not going to divert from the route. Two, they are able to save money because they monitor the drivers even when they are putting fuel on their vehicles and so forth. So many well-meaning investors and matatu owners and commercial vehicle owners are going to benefit more by technology because we will shoulder the higher part of the burden by making sure that NTSA has will host the servers and the main technology and monitor, so that then we give access to the SACCOs, so that they, instead of them investing, we give access to the SACCOs through NTSA at a fee. And that way, we are able to make sure that we monitor these processes. And if we have to punish errant drivers, then we must have properly documented information that is going to enable us to know who is doing what where. And
if someone borrows a vehicle, that too is on their problem.
Yes, if you borrow a vehicle, if you borrow a vehicle from a friend, especially when you are dealing with if you cause accident.
Because most of the vehicles are not registered with the people driving.
Absolutely. If you borrow a vehicle and you drive, the risk that your friend is undertaking is for if you cause road accident, your friend's insurance policy premium will go high. And that's the risk they take. That is the practice all over the world. If you go to other countries in the world and you ask someone, give me your car, I drive, they tell you, no, I can't do that. They can only give you if they really, really trust you. Because if you have an accident, the punishment goes to them in terms of the insurance policy, and it's very expensive in many other countries in the world. We need to punish that behavior. We also, even if you go to car hire, there will be a cost that you will have to deposit a certain amount of money for purpose of the company protecting itself, just in case you commit speed limit mistakes or you cause an accident that will also affect the insurance of the company. And the insurances, when they are when a company is going to get an insurance, they will of course declare that the driver that's a vehicle for hire. So once it's for hire, they will work out with the insurance company.
Waziri, Alex is asking, most roads lack motorcycle and cycling lanes. Are there any plans for these?
That is very true. Most of our roads across the country, why we are losing many pedestrians is because many drivers believe that roads were made for their cars. Even somebody who was walking yesterday begins to develop an attitude that the people who are walking on the road are not meant to walk.
But there's no demarcation.
I'm coming to that. 42% of the people in the city of Nairobi are walking to work and to many parts of the country. Even those who are driving walk partly. Because sometimes you park your car in CBD and then you walk all the way to Upper Hill or community areas and so forth. But there are no walkways, Waziri. This is what No, I'm just coming to that. So initially, when we developed our roads across the country, we never factored in non-motorized transport. Non-motorized transport is cycling parts and walking parts. Now, what is the challenge we've had? You've seen in the city of Nairobi, the Kenya Urban Roads Authority has tried its best to provide walking paths. But as they try to do so, these paths are competing with Kenya Power poles, You know, you see sometimes people taking picture of a pole that is surrounded by a tarmac where people are walking. It's because they are competing with other utilities. Why? Because the planning of our city and other cities across the country do not consider NMT. So Kura sometimes is struggling to provide walking paths. The worst of it is cycling, because there is no enough space for us to provide cycling. So you're competing with roadside traders, you're competing with Kenya Power, you're competing with water utilities, power lines, and so forth. Going forward, we need to request all the county governments across the country to put in their master plan non-motorized transport. In the city of Nairobi and in the ministry, we have a policy for non-motorized transport. And progressively, we need to work towards that. And I can tell you, Trevor, in very progressive cities in the world, 60 or 70% of the population use non-motorized transport. If you go to Stockholm and other cities, Copenhagen, many people are riding, many people are walking. And so in the past, walking was considered as a sign of poverty.
Yeah.
But now, we have gone all full circle. Yeah. A more developed country is the one that has more people having walk paths and cycling paths.
Did you abandon the plan for the BRT?
Not at all. BRT system is alive. And we have even progressed it better. The BRT system is going to sort so many things in the city. It's going to move more people. It's going to organize the transport, because it will be, this vehicular telematics is going to be part and parcel of the BRT. But also now we have infused electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles. What are we doing now? There was the line 2, which is between Thika all the way to Rongai. Part of that road from Kasarani to Carnage was supposed to have been done. The contractor is owed about 3 billion shillings. We recently paid partly about 500 million shillings for the contractor to continue the work. We are working together, as I told you, the funding permitting, to make sure that the treasury support this line, and then we'll get private sector, which includes the current matatu owners and matatu operators in the city, will come together to be able to operate that line. But the good news is that the European Union is supporting us on line 3, that is the Dandora line. We have also received the support now of African Development Bank on the design process of line 4, and we have a number of people in the private sector who want to do line 5. The city of Nairobi eventually, it is my belief, and through the hard work we are putting in as a ministry, BRT system will be alive. It will reduce the number of vehicles on the road. It will reduce pollution in the city, and it will ensure that we have a more dignified transport system that protects our children and women who sometimes get harassed in the current traffic.
What is the plan for roadworthy old trucks that definitely move at night, for obvious reasons? One, it's easier to bribe their way through the night, and two, there's not much focus on them.
We have heavy commercial vehicles regulations. I have published those regulations. 3 regulations are published recently: the school transport, heavy commercial vehicle transport, and the one for drunk driving, which we're returning the alcohol blow with specific measurements of the alcohol content and so forth.
Now that you're talking about alcohol blow, that was declared unlawful by the court. However.
Yes, that is why we are republishing the law with specific scientific provisions on when does a person considered to be drunk and driving, and both the blood test and the saliva test and all that is going to be undertaken based on the scientific standards that have been set in those rules, so that it meets the requirements that the court had considered. But coming back to commercial vehicles, we are now going to provide these regulations that will tell us how do you transport, what signage you will have in the commercial vehicle transport system, what signage are you going to have in vehicles that are transporting dangerous goods like liquefied gas, where will you park such kind of vehicles, what announcement are you going to make, and so forth and so forth. So these commercial vehicle regulations, including now what I told you, that we are going to make sure that vehicles roads that are stalling in particular areas are going to be towed at the cost of those who are the owners of the vehicle.
So there's still a lot of concern about marking of the roads.
There is.
Is this a plan that is going to happen, or
it's going to happen? What we are exploring now is a possibility of, once you put tarmac on the road, even if it's not complete, to do temporary marking. If we know that we are going to stay for another 1 year or 2 years without completing a road, I have told the road agencies to now explore, and that is a directive I gave 3 weeks ago, to explore ways of marking the roads temporarily, so that it allows the people to be able to see the age of the road, the necessary markings. But also, we have a problem. Recently, last year, after the Londiani accident, we embarked on a massive process of providing road signage as NTSA. Before we finished 1 month, all of them had been, the scrap metal has been stolen and made scrap metal. We have a challenge also of theft of this road furniture that we put on our roads, including the ones that are guarding the guardrails along dangerous roads. Again, this points out to very terrible corruption in our roads. And this corruption is not being by the police or by the NTSA. It is by citizens themselves who steal from themselves and endangering people's lives. So we have a challenge. That's why I told you, when you have security cameras in some places, it may be of help to us. And but we'll continue doing what we need to do. And we ask, the thing I want to implore on the people of Kenya, road safety will never happen by only government doing it. It must prick the conscience of every citizen that we must collectively do an Arambe to make sure that we support each other in dealing with this road carnage.
Okay. What is the plan for the new number plates transition? The deadline was the 1st of April.
We gave a deadline 1st of April for the number plates, but because it's not legally sanctioned, you know, we have been pushing. You've seen there are so many number plates that people don't apply and they don't pick. But now in this instant fining system, the number plate is extremely important because it must have a readable code in the number plate itself. That code will have so many things. That includes where your vehicle was serviced, who serviced your vehicle, who owns it, what's the color of the vehicle, and so forth. It will have description of the entire vehicle. So, together with the regulations and the law on instant fining, it will now be mandatory for everybody to have a new number plate.
When is the new deadline?
We have not set a new deadline. We are going to work with Parliament to establish it mandatory by law, so that it will not be a deadline issued by the ministry that is going to be complied with by the wish of the person. It will be mandatory because there is a legal obligation to make sure that your car is readable. Yeah. Using the speed cameras.
Okay, there are quite a number of questions. I'd like to bring them up before we transition and talk about...
Maybe before you bring the question, there is a very important component in the road safety sector, which is full of corruption, which is car inspection. It's the car inspection that many vehicles pass through that are not supposed to pass through because the people who are inspecting the vehicle are facing no consequence. So you go there, you bribe the inspector, and then your car is said, okay, it has brakes, it has good tires, it has all these requirements, including reflectors. Now, what we have done in the regulations, which we have again published, as I told you, we have been working in silence to reform all this sector. And when all these things now come to fruition, you will see these regulations now provide room for private sector to establish inspection centers. These inspection centers that will be run by private sector will have certain legal obligations. You will run the center, inspection fee will be paid, you will deduct a certain convenience fee for the private investor, but the details of the private inspection place, the details of the person who inspected the vehicle, all these requirements now will be borne and liability will move to a private company, which will then find it very difficult to take a bribe because the consequence will be dire. Because this chip that is going to be inserted in your vehicle will now tell us who inspected this vehicle and how did they allow a vehicle with this kind of tires. We remove it with public officers and public servants who cannot be held into account and who have no commercial interest to protect the survival of their companies. That way, we are going to make inspection in this country what it ought to be.
Yeah, there's a concern that how will you deal with the multi-sectoral approach, because there's NTSA, there's the traffic police. In fact, most people are saying that there's a lot of corruption on the road.
Yes, it is true. We cannot lie about that. You know, the people who bribe the police officers are the people who have the money. You know, and the other day when we sat with the Inspector General of Police, I told him, the fact that there are so many people bribing some of the police officers, even if it's not all of them, does not stop us from ensuring that we put more police officers on the roads to make sure that we enforce. Because if you are going to bribe, we will make sure that the police officers are from Eldoret to Nairobi, maybe 10 stops. If you are going to bribe 10 stops, you better as well just tell yourself, instead of bribing 10 places, let me just put let me comply with the law. Maybe the bribery will be so expensive that you will find it yourself that it is not necessary to continue bribing. I will comply. But we will not stop making sure that people comply with the law because of the allegations of bribery. However, it also takes two to tango. The police officer who was collecting bribes from, I saw the clip in one of the roads in Nairobi, and he's picking them like actually, you know, in an open manner. I think this is really unacceptable. Yeah. He was receiving it from Kenyans who are not police officers. That means, therefore, there is also supply. There's a demand and there's supply. We need to deal also with the bribe givers. And how do you deal with the bribe givers? You make it expensive for them to continue bribing. And that's why I told you technology will assist us, because if you are violating speed limits or inspection of your vehicle, we make it impossible because we have a way of establishing where you are inspected or instantly fining you for speed violation. Okay. Then going forward, then these issues are going to be solved.
Before we wind up, Waziri, there was a set recommendation about the JKIA. How far are we with the renovation? One of them was you recommended improvement of the air side and the landslide drainage system, but the area is still flooding. Well,
the JKIA, first of all, I'm happy with the progress so far with the JKIA reform processes. Of course, you haven't called me again about generator and blackout. But as I told you, this is very old facilities. And these old facilities require now a massive overhaul. For a long period of time, we've been patching. For example, the runway lights at Wilson gave in the other day when it rained heavily, because these are lights that were buried under the soil. They didn't have the ducts that are used for putting cables, because very old. So we had to repair them the other day. Runways at the Wilson, for example, still needs a lot of, including taxiways. In the JKIA, the same. This is massively dilapidated infrastructure for a long period of time. By the way, I saw one of your friends taking videos at the airport and saying, "Oh, you know, this airport
it was flooded." Right?
No, it's raining on people when they exit." And you know, I was laughing because Larry was with us in the country for the last 50 years when that airport was like that. But suddenly, because he lives now in Maju, suddenly his eyes are opened and realized that there is no shade in when you exit JKIA. And
but it's a fact. There's no canopy, right?
No, it happens to all of us when we travel, because those questions should have been asked for the last since 1978. Okay. And so it's not news that JKI doesn't have a canopy for shielding passengers. It's a fact.
But is there a plan to put?
Yes, there is a plan. So the plan that we have as Kenya is that I promised the country that we are going to leverage on private sector, and our thinking now is to find ways of getting private sector investment to come in and build a new terminal and build a new JKIA. What I want to tell Kenyans, because the plans are still in very infant stage, we're working out how best we can do that, is to promise the people of Kenya that by the time we are going to the next elections, you will have a new terminal, at least complete or almost complete. That will make JKIA a more competitive airport with facilities that are enviable and make us an aviation hub. Okay. Larry, I mean,
we're talking about Larry.
Yes, another Larry, yes.
But he still lives in the country.
Exactly. For you, Trevor,
yes.
I was talking about him because I was fascinated of how suddenly when you travel, your eyes gets open. But the point is that, Trevor, and I wish you every success also, so that you can continue your career beyond where you are at the moment. But what I'm trying to say is that as a country, and as a nation, we shall be that government that will go to transform this country immensely. Okay. Sometimes I look at social media posts and comments that people have about us. I promise you, as a matter of fact, I'm a young person. Yeah, I want to have a better future when I retire in my country. I want to be able to account for something for the position that I hold. We are going to transform the infrastructure of this country. The airports will be different from what you have seen for the last 50 or 60 years. Okay. The roads will be different. You have not even talked with you about part of the ways of making sure that we have some of these roads become traffic-free and also safe is to dual them. And the road from Mombasa to Malaba is in our plans to make sure that we dual, and we are working already with private sector to make sure that we get investments and investors that are going to dual these roads.
Nairobi, Nakuru?
That is exactly what I'm talking about, from Rironi up to Mau Summit and hopefully up to Malaba. Is in our plan to make sure that we expand and dual those roads.
By when?
We are hoping that by next year we can get a contractor to be able to go on site. Okay. And as I said, because we understand our financial situation as a country, I laugh sometimes because people ask and demand the best infrastructure, but they're not willing to invest in that best infrastructure. For example, did you know that to realign, we did designs the other day to just realign the Nithi Bridge. You see the way the Nithi Bridge is meandering and has caused many deaths. And even despite the signage we put in place, people still are suffering there with accidents. We just did the other day a design to do a viaduct across, like it happens in many countries. We need 50 billion to be able to do that. Yeah. We did another design to just realign it, to make it straight. And we realized that to construct it, we need 5 to 6 billion. And we need about 10 billion to compensate people for their land. So the reason why we try sometimes to live within our means is because as where we are as a country at the moment, we can only afford to build infrastructure to a certain level. But if we succeed to leverage on the private sector with the support of everybody, we are going to be able to, and I can tell you, I proudly appreciate the work that was done to establish Nairobi Expressway.
Is that the same format you're going to use for the dualing?
Absolutely.
For the dual
absolutely.
So that if you want to use it, there's a toll.
There's a toll. Okay. And Kenyans are saying we're willing to pay the toll.
Okay.
If the toll is reasonable, and it is safe, instead of going to Naivasha, a 90-kilometer trip, and you use 3 hours. People are saying, if I can use 90 kilometers 1 hour, I can pay for the road construction, dualing and tolling and dualing, I can pay 500 shillings and get to Naivasha on time. What will I do? And I've said to the people of Kenya, dualing is not an extra cost, it's a saving. Because if we dual the road and toll, you are able to get to the place where you are going on time, you save on fuel, and you save on time. If you calculate that cost, even what you save in fuel alone, it's going to be a saving. And many Kenyans slowly will begin to learn the advantage of doing that. So
next week this will kick off under the PPP system?
No, the dualing, as I said, by next year, the dualing of the Naivasha road, hopefully by next year we should be able to have got a contractor, then they can construct, and we have a dual road. I know the people of Kenya are anxious. They are passionate about asking their cabinet secretary why the roads are not safe, why we don't have enforcement on the road, why we don't have dualing of the road, why the airport is the way it is. But there are also so many things we have done. We have reformed our port of Mombasa. It's now one of the best ports in the region, and we are doing very well. We have also made significant strides in operations of the Kenya, the railway, the SGR, and the entire railway. And we are expanding that network, especially commuter railway in the city. We are bringing in new signaling systems and so forth. We are having massive investment. The only thing I ask is a little patience from the people of Kenya. This is not an instant coffee ministry. This is a ministry of capital-intensive investments and proper planning. If you arrive and there's no planning, you must plan. If you have a plan, you must stick to the plan and look for resources to be able to implement. And you must be innovative. And that's what we have been doing for the last 1.5 years.
Waziri, your final remarks? We ran out of time.
Well, my final remarks is this, that to the people of Kenya, we care about the loss of life. As your cabinet secretary, I appreciate my predecessors, including the famous Honorable James Michuki, John Michuki. Yeah, did I call you James? So, Honorable John Michuki, who left a legacy of organizing the transport sector to be dignified in terms of safety belt, the number of vehicles, the number of passengers in a vehicle. But the one problem, and I showed you, Trevor. The one problem we have with the problem we've never sorted since 1963, and you can see the graph, is the road accidents. Despite the great work that was done by Honorable Michuki, he never managed to sort out road accidents. Road accidents continue to bother us as a nation. And now we have a target. We want to reduce them by half by 2030. And despite the increasing number of vehicles, we will work towards using technology. And I will be that cabinet secretary who will transition our country from the analog system of enforcement in terms of road traffic to a digital system that is going to give us clear results that are going to protect the people of Kenya. And I want to be judged in the fullness of time by the investment we will have put in this sector and by progressively putting in place reform agenda that is not going to be one-off. That will not be for my term or the term of the president. It will be remembered for generations to come that there was a man who came into technology and changed the traffic system.
Waziri, thank you so much for making time. We will call that man back here again to see on the end of the year whether the speed cameras are there now. Kipchumba Murkomen CS Roads and Transport, asante sana for making time. We're taking a quick break here on Monday Report. We're back with much more in just a bit.